Hi everyone, it's Amy here from the blog I Think Therefore I Teach. Welcome to your next criminology video. This one will be on Unit 2 and it's now 3.1. So let me make myself smaller. There we go. Alright, so topic 3.1, this is a really interesting one. I really like this one and students seem to do extremely well with this topic area, but you have to know 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3 well. So you have to know your biological, your individualistic and your sociological theories for crime in order to be able to apply them to these areas. So this PowerPoint is just going to give you a few examples that I did with my class to help you get the idea. You may have done completely different examples with your teacher to practice, because in the exam you will get unknown scenarios that you have to apply your approaches to, that you have to apply 2.1, 2.2 or 2.32. So this is an area that you won't know what you're going to get, so you'll have just practiced this in lesson. So using the theories we have learned, analyse situations of crime. What you need to be able to do then, you need to be able to analyse the different types of crime and the individual criminal behaviour. So you need to analyse a range of crimes and understand possible causes. The causes are the approaches that we've done. You need a knowledge of a range of crimes, such as crimes against the person, property, white collar, corporate. Sorry, I'll just go back there. So you need to be able to spot the crimes in a scenario and then apply what would Freud say, what would functionalism say, what would Jacobs XYY say, etc. The really good thing about this topic is you can't really get it wrong. If you see a link to the strain theory, or if you see a link to Skinner's operant conditioning, etc., then run with it. Go with it, apply it, make the link to your scenario that you get. So you can't really get this wrong. It's about the application and the way that you interpret things. What does it mean then to analyse? When exam questions use this word, it means you have to apply your knowledge to something in order to explain it. So you need to break it down into parts to examine it in more detail. In the Unit 2 exam, you will have 3 sections, 25 marks each. Each has a scenario and or criminal case, and then some questions that follow afterwards. If one of the questions asks you to analyse the scenario, this is your opportunity to show off your knowledge of the theories, to apply them to the scenario in the question. So the scenarios will always have a number of clues. The crime should be fairly obvious and there should be a variety of them. And you have to decide the possible reasons for the behaviour so you can choose which theories are best to apply. So this is the one that we did together as a class, so it's just a complete general one, made up, and this is one that we tried first of all together. So case study 1, Donna. She was taken into care as a toddler. Social workers concerned because her home life was chaotic and parents were petty thieves and drug users. Donna was deemed to be neglected physically and emotionally. Father was prone to violent, angry outbursts and spent a while in prison whilst Donna was 2. Mother was away in drug rehab while Donna was a baby. Social workers' reports said that Donna was distant and emotionally withdrawn when taken into care. Placed in a series of foster homes, but struggled to bond with them and relationships tended to break down. This went on for a number of years. Eventually, Donna moved in with her friend's family as she had some sort of relationship with them, but the family were known locally as career criminals. Aged 11, Donna started substance abuse, including alcohol. Aged 15, rarely in school, often in contact with youth justice system for offences like shoplifting and assault. Police and social services concerned that she is learning criminal techniques from her friend's family. So, what my class then did, using this scenario, was they tried to apply as many different approaches as they could. So we tried to get a range from biological, individualistic and sociological, but this was just a practice. So as you were listening to that, was there any theories you think that you could apply, the ones that you have studied so far? Is there any ideas of the ones that you've looked at that you think, oh, that might explain that behaviour, or that might explain that? That's exactly what you need to do. If you can't make the links, you need to do some sort of revision or coverall posters where you have each of your theories in front of you. So my class did biological, individualistic and sociological like bubbles with the different strands and then tried to apply this case to the different strands they did. So what you need to think of, this was a bit of a summary to help. Can you apply physiological, Lombroso or Sheldon, genetic or brain abnormality? Can you apply individualistic, so Freud, Bowlby, Skinner, Bandura or Eisner to this? Or could you apply sociological, Marxism, functionalism, Merton's strain, interaction, right or left realism? So could you now apply these different theories to Donna? Now, you do not have to use all of them, but I think my class certainly, when they first attempted this, came up with about 10 to 12 different links. And sometimes how one student applies Freud, for example, might be different from how another student might apply Freud, but that's exactly what you need to do. If you're totally lost at this point, this next slide might help you. So here are some possible answers. Biological. You might want to look at her parents' deviant behaviour. There may be a genetically inherited element in Donna's own offending, aggression, substance abuse. So the biochemical factors such as alcohol would play a part in this as well, since it's known to trigger aggression. So you could get biological explanations both genetically from parents, but also we know that alcohol does affect how you react to things. Merton's strain theory, this could be the idea that the way that she's socialised into this deviant subculture, the people that she's associated with, her friends' family. Donna's criminology could be explained using Merton's strain theory, that failure to achieve mainstream goals, such as she's dropped out of school or rarely attends, may mean she is recruited into a criminal subculture where she can acquire criminal skills. Donna's involvement with her friends' family may give her this opportunity, so she's been caught stealing and things. So what you need to do, and this is very, very important, is you have to make specific links to the case study at hand. So just like I've done here, I've said how she's dropped out of school in brackets or how she was caught shoplifting. I've made my link between Merton and Donna very clear. I've explicitly wrote it, so do not just imply it, write it specifically. Even quote from the story you get, that's even better. You could also talk about maternal deprivation, so how, from Bowlby's idea, how she might have developed affectionless psychopathy, this idea that from the age of 2 she had the absent figures, absent parents. She also then, when she went to live with her first family, she was distant and emotionally withdrawn. Social learning theory, Bandura, you could say how a reward and punishment in her life, so she's maybe imitated her friend's family and been rewarded for that. And the differential association theory, this very focused on socialisation to face-to-face groups like the family. If an individual is exposed to values favourable to law-breaking, as Donna has both with her parents and her friend's family, they're more likely to engage in criminal behaviour themselves. So this is just a little snapshot of things that you could have talked about. I think that was it for that one, yes. So this is just a little snapshot. You could have talked about from any theory. You could look at Freud and how she wasn't able to make those connections, or maybe her id was overdeveloped and so then she just wanted more the pleasure things, and the pleasure things came from the deviant behaviours, etc. So you could have made so many links with the case of Donna, and that was just a few to help you. All right. The third case study we looked at, I've taken out a couple of the other ones that we did, because without the background reading they won't make much sense. The background reading was in a booklet that they had, so I've just taken them ones out for now. Fred West, though, is a real life case, so you can look into the Fred West case if you haven't already. Again, having a little bit of background knowledge into serious crimes can really help you with your examples in the second year. So Fred West is one of them. Be warned, what he did was pretty horrific. So, but do check out Fred West if you're not familiar with that case. So when we looked and explored Fred West, the students read about Fred West's case, we watched a very short clip on the activities that he did. Some of the things that you could have linked it to was social learning theory. So Fred's mother introduced him to sex at an early age. This might have accounted for Fred West's methods of brutality. So Fred West was a serial killer. Freud, you could be argued that he's so focused on his id and that pleasure-seeking area that becomes very dominant, and the insistence on his instant sexual gratification as well. But he also, Fred West had 2 accounts where brain damage could have happened. He fell down some stairs, and he was also in a serious motorcycle accident, so that could have caused brain damage, which might again have lent to the different things that he did. With this topic, with 3.1, it's about you applying it logically to the scenario. We don't know at all any of this. We don't know if Fred West is just like that. All we can say is it could be this, or it could be this. So that's what you're expected to do. You're not expected to draw, concrete conclusions, because we don't know what Fred West's brain was like. Therefore, you can only draw assumptions. The other one that we had a look at that you might be familiar with is the Ford Pinto case. This is a very, very different case. The Ford Pinto is Ford, as in the Ford cars. The Pinto was a car that they created. So we watched this clip and we had a look at the case study. So do check out Ford Pinto as a different type of kind of business crime that could happen. And they basically designed a car that they knew was faulty. They sold it on the market because it was cheaper to pay for damages and being sued than it was to change all the vehicles with something that they've found wrong with it. So do check it out because it's another good case. How we applied, we said it could be Merton's strain theory, this idea of the money success, needing to, weighing up the cost of suing versus the cost of changing all the cars. It was better for people to die than to change all the cars because of that strain that they've had as corporately to kind of stay at the top. So the squeezing of those profit margins. Right realism, it could be the idea that a rational choice had been made. The theory states that criminals weigh up the risk and reward. That's exactly what they did in this case. So again, they were responsible. They knew what they were doing. Or Marxism, this idea of capitalism and the consumer market and this need for more. And so in a capitalist society, it's dog eat dog. It's one of those things where the profit motivates everything, even if it's at the cost of somebody's life. Okay, so that's should give you a taster of how to use or apply 3.1. As I've said, this is not a topic you learn. You have to learn the theories you apply, but you will not know until you're in your exam as far as what the scenario will be. But hopefully this has helped you see how to do it. You could watch the Ford Pinto case, you could look into Fred West and think of loads of other links that you could make. Absolutely fine, as long as the key thing to take away from this video is you make a direct link between the theory and specifically to the scenario. Quote the scenario and make it explicit how you're linking Freud, for example, to what action they have done. Otherwise, I hope you found this video useful. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Otherwise, please do feel free to drop me a comment and don't forget to subscribe as well in order to get updates when all the videos are getting released. Thanks very much. Bye everyone. Bye for now.